Yo, what's up, boys? Bruno here, bringing you an item tier list guide for Fiora. We're going to jump right into it here. So we'll take these two starter items and go ahead and throw them in there. Doran's Blade always A tier because it scales. It scales and it's good. It's the best starting item. I'm going to put this in B tier. The shield, just because it's really good into ranged, obviously, but you want to match it with Second Wind. Second Wind and Doran's Shield, they go really well together. Usually you don't get one without the other because it kind of doesn't make sense. Now we're looking at Heartsteel. So this is something that we tested, and believe it or not, it's really not that bad on Fiora. It's not that bad, but you don't get a lot of resistances, so you just have a big health bar that kind of gets shredded by true damage champions. I would still give it B tier, and I could see you using it in very, very rare situations if you wanted to. I think there's builds that are better than it, than going the Heartsteel Mythic, but I'll put it there. And this is followed up by with Jack Show, which if you haven't seen in the YouTube, we've actually released 2 videos about Jack Show. It's really good. It's really good against, obviously, enemy team comps that don't have true damage, but it can keep you alive for a really long time with the Ravenous Rush into Jack Show, into Bork. It's not that bad. I wouldn't give it the S tier. I would give it A tier because it fits into certain team comps, and I'm sure that'll be nerfed. At this point, this is very strong. Let's not get that confused. It's very strong. It's A tier. It's very good. We got Radiant Virtue. We did try this. For some reason, the Mythic, the passive on it made it seem like it'd be good. Don't bother. it said when you ult, you'll transcend, you'll heal more, all this stuff. So in my head, I'm like, oh my god, Fiora's ulti, this is going to be amazing. That's not the case. So I wouldn't bother with that. GA is A tier. Very good item. Very good item. Especially against all AD. This almost like kind of sits in S tier too because it's just like a late game buy. And when you die, you usually come back to life and have your parry up and be able to do some damage and stay alive with parry. But I still want to put it in A tier because I just feel like there's better full builds in that, and there's better items that would have a little bit more value than GA would. And like I said, usually you get GA, you die with it, and then you sell it and you buy something else anyways. So, I mean, how good is it truly, right? Spirit Visage. I mean, it's got the healing to it, and it's got the MR, but I would just still put that C tier. I'd put it below average. I mean, the only way I could ever see you building it is into absolutely full AP team comps, and you'll probably take like a Maul with that, and a Force of Nature, and all that stuff, but I mean, this is like if enemy team is completely full AP, I just couldn't imagine. Bloodthirster, this is with the crit build that we tried, below average. I think that if you wanted to go crit, it's fun. Like, it's not very good, but it's fun. It's fun, so that would go with that. Ravenous Hydra coming up, obviously, absolutely, S tier, absolutely. The item is probably going to get nerfed like 3 more times. It's getting nerfed probably like right after this video will drop, but at the same time, it's still an 85 AD item, which is just absolutely ridiculous. That's like Mana Immune fully stacked, because it stacks with minions now, and it's like 80 Mejais. It's just way, way too strong. Way too strong. They'll probably keep nerfing it until it is in the ground. With that being said, Maul is another one. When the Maul passive procs, the Lifeline procs, it is just incredible, especially into mixed damage when you have like a Death Stance and a Maul, so you get the mitigated damage along with the shield from Maul, and then the extra AD and the Omnivamp, and it's just, it works with Fiora. It's great. It's awesome. It's perfect. Silver Mirror Dawn, well, you know, this is going to be like your QSS if you need it. So it's average. Obviously, you're never going to buy that unless you really have to, but playing Fiora, I always say that you should be able to dodge abilities with your mobility, and then you have your parry as well. So, I mean, it's average. It's whatever. I wouldn't really buy it even if I needed a QSS tax, but that's my opinion. So, Death Stance, another S tier item for sure. Death Stance is one of the best bruiser fighter items in the game, and as long as it's made the way that it is, it always will be. Also, they're going to change the Death Stance, and you'll no longer get your recall canceled because of Death Stance damage being mitigated. So that's pretty cool, because that happens to me all the time, so I'm sure it happens to a lot of you guys as well. Athena's Chains, I would put it C tier only because if enemy, like let's say enemy Viego is like 27-0 and there's a Yuumi on the Viego, okay, sure, then I'll buy it, right? Then it makes sense to buy it. But other than that, unless you got some enemy unless you have like somebody on an enemy team that's literally like 20-0, there's really no point for that item, truly. So, Black Cleaver, you already have true damage. I can't deny that it does have ability haste, damage, health. I mean, like, sure, but its passive is like armor shredding, and you don't need that as Fiora because you're already shredding armor through the true damage with your vitals. So, I mean, maybe there's a world where you would buy it if you really wanted like some ability haste or something like that. But I mean, and honestly, I don't see a point. No, that just goes, yeah, I mean, trying that thing, it just doesn't really matter. It's just not good enough. It's not good enough for Fiora, so that's definitely D tier. This item, I will put Chimpunk. I want to put it in average. I really think that it's not necessarily a single target champion's job to get healing reduction. I always think this is more for champions that have AoE, and with the way that Grievous Wounds has been nerfed over and over again, it just doesn't feel good anymore, really. It doesn't feel like the best item. So we're going to put that in B tier. I mean, if I have to, if I'm going against like a full healing team, then sure, I'll buy it, but it's just, it used to be a lot better. It used to be cheaper. It used to be a lot of AD, and not anymore, though. Not anymore. The healing reduction is just kind of worthless at this point. So we got Manamune. Manamune is definitely an A tier item. It is the highest AD item in the game, even though Ravenous has been buffed as much as it has. Manamune still ends up being more valuable than Ravenous when it comes to attack damage. So the only issue is that it gives you no resistances. A little bit of ability haste obviously helps with your mana issues, but as long as you're running Presence of Mind and you're keeping up with your mana, you should be okay. We'll just put it there. We'll put it in A tier. I think it's a great item. I don't build it as often as I used to, but it still is the highest AD item in the game, and you can't deny that. So that's where it'll go. Divine Sunder is Divine Sunder. Obviously, one of the best mythics for Fiora. It is great for the heals, for the damage. It's just all around probably one of the best mythics for Fiora for sure. Duskblade, we gave it a try. It's fun, not good. Actually, it's not even worth it at all, to be fair. This one is not your lethality item. Don't go this. This, Eclipse, if you wanted to have some fun, that one's not too bad. I would go that one. Iron of Elixir, whatever. This is going to be S tier because this is the only elixir you should be buying. The only one. The only one. Unless you, for some reason, decided to go Heartsteel, Titanic, and like Hullbreaker, then sure, an Iron Elixir over this. But you should really typically always be going the Red Elixir. I'm forgetting its name for some reason. The one that gives you lifesteal and damage and all that. Stridebreaker. This item is still A tier. It fits into very specific team comps, but it's really good at helping you hit all 4 vitals quickly. It's just... The Mythic passive is just bad. That's the only real thing. It's like the 2% move speed just doesn't really feel great when you can get like ability haste from Gore Drinker or penetration from Divine. So I don't know. And then Jack Show even gives you like +5 armor and MR for every item you get. So I don't know. It's still really good. It's still really good. It just fits more. It's that classic Assassin Fiora build. We all know what I'm talking about. The PTA build with Bork and everything like that. So I would put it in A tier. Essence Reaver. There is a weird part of me that wants to put this in average just because it does help with the mana issues, but it only fits into like crit builds, right? So it just makes me want to put it in C tier because I just feel like if you wanted to go something that had mana to it, you should just go Manamune. Manamune's going to be way better than this. This is a cheap item. It's a quick burst of damage. And now I used to build this item against like Graves top when he was popular so I could get a really quick power spike. And that was the only lane I would run Essence Reaver. And that was the only single one. Force of Nature. This is a better MR item than Spirit Visage. So I'm going to put that here because it's stacking. You're typically running Conquer, your Fiora, so stacking always feels good. So as an MR item, I like Force of Nature a lot more. Now, Coal, I'm going to get rid of these starting items really quick. So refillable, this is my opinion. I love refillable because it helps me make mistakes and then I'm able to have a refillable to get a little bit of HP back. And it stops me from buying a ton of potions. I like to get this on the first back if I can and just have it. And then I'll use it for the remainder of the game. You sell it for like 70 gold, you lose like 90 out of it, but I use it like throughout until like 15 minutes. And I mean, there's always a slot open for it, so I just take it and I have it on me. So I'll keep that in A tier, to be honest. And then the coal, I like the coal for Fiora. I really do. When you're playing safe and you're just farming, I mean, this is great because it's going to give you the extra gold. It pays for itself. It gives you more gold as well. I mean, this is a great item as well, along with the tier. I mean, these starting items right here they're above average. They're good. Even if you don't finish Manamune, spending 400 gold to have mana and then eventually selling it once you're like level 16, 17 or something like that when you're working on your 5th item, I mean, it's worth it because it sits there and it keeps your mana up if you struggle with it. I run Presence of Mind and that helps me with mana, but I know that Fiora does have mana issues, and just picking this up for 400 gold if you have the extra 400 gold really isn't that bad. Iceborne Gauntlet is a surprising one. I'm going to actually put Iceborne Gauntlet in the A tier, and the only reason I'm putting it in the A tier is because it now has the Sheen proc, and now Sheen on Fiora is amazing. Sheen is great, but this item now strictly has armor to it. Armor and a little bit of health to it. It's got the nice passive to slow, and if you're into like 4 AD, It's surprisingly not that bad. The damage is a little bit low, but then again, you're going to keep scaling. You grab this with like Ravenous and Bork, and you're just going to do damage regardless. It is a little bit later of a power spike, but I mean, that's the Fiora we're used to, right? We get 3 items, then we do damage. And this will keep you alive against, like, you know, if you go against like a Shin top Wukong jungle, and they gank you over and over again, or you got 4 AD on enemy team, I mean, this is going to be very useful. And then you're going to turn this into like a Death Stance and a Maul, along with Ravenous and Bork, and you're looking all right. Frozen Heart. I'm going to put this in B tier as average just because it's really good. There's 2 reasons that it's really good. It gives you mana and it scales with mirror mana. So I always recommend these 2 together. But for the second reason is, even if you're doing poorly, I mean, this item reduces attack speed in an aura surrounding you. So even if you personally are doing poorly and you're like there at the team fight or something like that, you're actually still doing something because this item is slowing enemy attack speed that are in your aura. So, I mean, that's kind of worth it, right? Gale Force, it's fun, but it's really bad. So it is fun. You can proc vitals with the Gale Force jump, which is kind of cool, I guess, right? So, but it's not the greatest thing ever. So it goes into don't bother. Gore Drinker, obviously one of the other S tier mythics. A really great item. Really great item. It gives you ability haste. It heals you. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. That's what you're asking for on Fiora, so it's really great. Hullbreaker, surprisingly, even though I don't build it as much anymore, I personally would put this item in A tier only because I really want to put it in B tier for an average item, but I think that this is a really good item for one reason, and that's because if you know that your team has really good wave clear and you can get away with building Hullbreaker, then you should be building Hullbreaker, because the Hullbreaker is a great item. You're getting that armor, that MR, you're getting that AD, you're getting that HP. I mean, this item all around has everything that Fiora needs for a very, very low, cheap cost, and it allows you to split push and do a lot of damage to towers in the side lane. Shield Bow, for some reason, I like Shield Bow for the crib build, so I'm going to put it in the C tier because it's fun. These kind of go hand in hand. They're like the C tier build, which reminds me, let's go ahead and put this here. This is just a fun build if you ever get the chance to try it. It's a good time. It's a good time to have Navori and you get the 60% crit to unlock its passive. It's a fun one. It's a fun one. Merc, I mean, it's QSS, but it's not. If you're going to go QSS, you're going to go Quicksilver, Dawn. So you're going to go. You don't need this item. This is just D tier. Don't bother. It's not a very good item. Along with this as well, I'm going to put that there too. Actually, now that we got Prowlers, this is a build that we did. I want to make a video on this because it's so much fun. If you ever wanted to go Lethality, I actually will put this in the average because I can actually see an argument for using it in very rare occasions. This item is not bad. Prowlers is really not that bad. And you pair it with like Ravenous and Bork. I mean, you're taking like, imagine like the tier list if we were doing it like that. You're taking like a B tier item, pairing it with 2 S tier items, and you got something going for you there, right? I mean, it makes sense. Spirit Shojin is actually going to go into A tier. Now, keep in mind, this is a 4th or 5th item buy. This is not something you buy early. There are very rare occasions. The only time that I say getting Shojin 3rd is good is like when you are very ahead. If you get like 3 kills in lane. Shojin is one of those items you don't queue into the game and you're like, okay, I'm going to build Shojin this game. It's more like, okay, I'm 3-0 right now. I'm going to get a Shojin and like keep carrying. Because if you buy that early and then you don't keep snowballing, it's going to be pretty bad for you. But I'll give it an A tier because there's a lot of potential if you are like 12-2 or something like that to go ahead and buy this, and you'll notice that it really ramps up the damage, ramps up your mobility. It's kind of insane. So it's really solid. Sterex, C tier. I mean, the only reason you would buy Sterex, again, if you're going like the Heartsteel Titanic build, which I just think is average, but I won't put it in D tier because there is the very rare occasion that you'll use it. So Stormrazor, C tier. Not that great. Titanic actually is not as bad. Like, Titanic really is not that bad. I'm going to put it in B tier. Like, you can imagine going like Heartsteel, Titanic, and Hullbreaker, and it's really not that bad. And that's why Sterex doesn't go in the don't bother range, because if you really decided to go that build, then you could do that. But I mean, it's just an average build. There's just so many things better. We've got Triforce now. This is my personal opinion. This is an average mythic to me. I don't see anything special about this mythic, in my opinion. I really don't. I think that this does the same exact thing that Divine does, just worse. I understand that it gives you stacking attack speed or whatever and movement speed. That's awesome, okay. But it just doesn't do the damage that Divine does. It's the same item, just worse. Leading up to, we'll take Wit's End and we'll put it. Wit's End is something that, I mean, if you wanted to buy this instead of like Bork because they're full AP and you want to have the MR and the attack speed, if you want to prioritize attack speed, then Wit's End is not that bad. And for our last item, we have Bork, which is going to fit right here into the S tier. This is I mean, the item is just so broken, right? I mean, it's got the attack speed, it's got the damage, it does massive damage in dueling and 1v1s, but it also gives you a little bit of lifesteal when you pair this with Ravenous. It's amazing. So here we have it, okay? I mean, imagine S tier being the best build that you can possibly go. So you've got your two mythics there. You got Divine and Gore Drinker. Now these are obviously interchangeable, whatever. But imagine here would be like your ideal, perfect build, right? I mean, you take all the S tier items. You go Gore Drinker, Ravenous, Bork, Death Stance, Maul. There you go, S tier. But you also have the option to throw in an A tier item or something like that. So obviously, D is for don't bother. These are things that we've tested. I don't like them. I think they're awful. If you want to have some fun, some of the C tier builds, the Crypt build is a lot of fun. Eclipse can be kind of fun sometimes. If you really want to have fun, I would say Prowlers is OP. I'd say Prowlers is great. So this is my item tier list, guys. I hope this helps you out. Make sure that you take a look at this, have some fun theory crafting with it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it helps you with your climb. And until next time, peace out, guys. Bye-bye.